Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Sometimes it feels like...
As promised, here's a distillation of my thoughts on the Benedict Option event we were at last week in New York, and the concept of the Benedict Option in general. If you don't know what the Benedict Option is, the author Rod Dreher, who's been championing it, says it refers to Christians in the contemporary West who cease to identify the continuation of civility and moral community with the maintenance of American empire, and who therefore are keen to construct local forms of community as loci of Christian resistance against what the empire represents. The book's currently number 7 on the New York Times bestseller list, and has been dubbed by New York Times columnist David Brooks the most discussed and the most important religious book of the decade. I just finished reading it myself, and if you want to be in on the conversation, you've got to at least do that much. So here's my thoughts. Number 1, Dreher's premise is that the world is rapidly darkening, society is breaking down, and becoming increasingly hostile to small o Orthodox Christianity. I'm not disagreeing with that, and it's actually what Jesus promised would happen. Dreher is the first to deny allegations of the Benedict Options being a call to head for the hills in response, and he prefers a metaphor of riding out the storm in an ark. On surface level, I was like, yeah, not a bad idea. And then I thought about it more. What about being a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden? Shouldn't the communities we form be standing up, making ourselves known, and inviting others to full participation in the life Jesus wants for his people? Which leads me into number 2, the whole life liturgy. Some of my age group here at Fox Hill have been reading and discussing the Benedict Option. When we read this section on liturgy, we had a mixed response. Dreher comes from an Eastern Orthodox background, which of course has a deep and beautiful liturgy. Most of us initially would have said that we don't really have a formal liturgy. However, I think because we take a completely holistic approach to life and worship, we're just slower to see the entire structure of our life as our liturgy. Interestingly, Dreher picked up on this and wrote about it following his visit to Fox Hill last week. I went back to our Foundations document and found this. The whole of life in church community must be a sacrament, a living symbol that illustrates God's calling for humankind. Doesn't Jesus want us to approach the whole of life as a sacrament? I'm not saying I or we do a good job at this, but it's what we're striving for. And number 3, values. I think one of the most important things Dreher covers in his book is how much children need a distinguishable order in their life and need to be taught the values which ground us and give us a sense of self. Creating limits and boundaries for ourselves, recognizing that there's right and wrong and that there's such a thing as sin, is hugely countercultural if you think about it. This is not about prudishness or being holier than thou. This is about discovering what God really created each of us to be and then living as that person by grace. There's lots more from the book to talk about, but what excites me about it is how much interest there is in the topic and the opportunity it creates for new encounters. So let me know if you've got the book yet and what you think about it. Until next time.